So Justin said to me that he's very good at keeping secrets. It's just the people he tells that aren't. He wasn't supposed to say that anyway. Either way, I'm delighted to be here. There's a very neat segue, I think, between the slides of the story I'm going to present today and leading off from where do you want to use this? Yeah. Yep. And where Guy left off. So it's really about the power of content.
It's going to come on.
Okay, come on. Yeah. Because I think in the advertising industry we tend to ignore the fact that our slides don't work, and actually it's really about engaging content. You know, we need to celebrate the power of TV and not focus on the advertising execution. Whether you are an advertiser or an agency, or indeed a publisher, you need to think about how you can surface your brand and your commercial within the amazing content that is on air across all of these platforms, as Guy just talked about. And it's really about driving engaging moments. It's about driving passion, whether that be Game of Thrones or whether that be your mic. It's comedy there, isn't it? Whether about Game of Thrones or whether that be about amazing sport or amazing drama. You know, having your ads. This is really starting to annoy me now. Are you going to put it onto the presentation? Thanks. Beautiful. Done that bit. That's me. This is all about passion, amazing content. And what this is doing in the evolution of TV is changing the way that we interact with our content. This is a picture of the Sky EPG some 7 or 8 years ago. It was a linear channel list highlighting key programs that you might want to watch. Wind the clock forward to today, it's no longer about channels. It's about getting you access to the content as quickly as possible. This is changing the way that consumers interact with content, but it's also changing the way that consumers interact with advertising. When you think about viewing, it used to be about linear and live first. That's no longer the case. Whether you look at the Sky platform in the UK, the Virgin platform in the UK, or you look across the US, and then when you extend it in to Europe, you need to think about a campaign as a whole. It's quite logical when you think about it as channel genres that people are going to interact with their content very differently. On the right-hand side of the screen is live sports, thinking about the Sky platform. As you'd expect, 85% of that viewing is live and linear. But at the extreme on the left, in cinema, you want to watch a movie when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it, on whatever device you want to watch it on. And that's about 1/3 of viewing being live. It's logical to you, it's logical to the consumer, so why the hell is it not logical to the ad sales and the media sales community? And I include within that Sky as a business. This story applies in North America as well as Europe. So at Sky, we've decided to shift the emphasis of our campaigns. So rather than selling separate campaigns across linear and VOD, we are selling one holistic campaign. One campaign by 2021 is our mission. The first part of that journey is to have deduplicated reach and frequency reports for every single campaign that exists across linear and VOD, in a live, automated environment. In an environment that is transparent, that takes the very best of measurement from every single platform. But I'll tell you what's important for TV is not to adopt the digital standards where we mark our own homework, where we add up to more than the population, if you're thinking about 1634s, but where we are transparent, our methodology is audited, and advertisers and agencies can have trust in that reporting, in that data processing, and that you can access those reports and data and download that into your own ecosystem. That, for me, is important, and the first and most important step of moving from campaigns across linear and VOD in separation to one campaign across multiple platforms. So if that's about viewing and enabling advertising, what is the future? What's important for TV? I've already talked about this notion of one campaign. I think those that stick their head in the sand and ignore the shift in viewing do so at their own peril. The idea that you can hide behind a higher CPM in VOD is utter nonsense. It's short-term and not long-term. So as a TV industry, we need to change. We need to innovate to compete. We don't need, or we should not require, relying on our historic legacy ability. We need to think about how we compete in the future. We need to make TV compete at every single level of the marketing funnel. It's proven time and time and time again that TV adds value at brand building, at mass reach and fame. What we as an industry need to do is ensure that we can compete at the sharper end of the funnel, at the activation level. You need to think about the supporting and surrounding capabilities and services that TV needs to offer to compete against the likes of Google and Facebook. There is no point in arguing about the fact that a marketeer spends money on Google and Facebook if you're not prepared to innovate yourselves. It's kind of a bit of tough luck. Deal with it and move on. In TV, there is an opportunity, if you build that capability, to compete right at the heartland, the sweet spot of the data and activation of Facebook and Google, but the most compelling, engaging brand environments, brand building, fame building environments that TV offers. Brand safety should not be underestimated, but it is not your only defense mechanism. At Sky, we've done this through launching a number of different capabilities: addressability, analytics, and cross-platform. Without those three, you're a one-trick pony. I think it's really important to innovate in all of those areas. Not necessarily build it yourselves, but thinking of the old Airfix models that I used to play with as a child, but taking the very best of ad tech from the ecosystem and applying it with your unique secret sauce. That might be about your content, it might be about your data, but bringing those assets together to bring capabilities that lead the market. I think I pressed the wrong button. There you go. AdSmart, for example, is now live in, or is building to be live in 11.5 million households. That's because we partnered with Liberty Global. Liberty Global will take, or Virgin Media will take our footprint from 7.2 million households to 11.5 million, with a very clear line of sight to get us to nearly 70% household penetration by the end of 2021, 2022. It's massively important to us. It's massively important to have scale, to have targeting at scale, multiple different metrics that can allow you to go across all those different segments, all that sort of location and regionality that in combination can get you to some 4,500 different combination of targeting attributes. We are now at scale. This is part of our business as usual proposition. It is no longer a launch product. It has moved from being part of a sort of startup team within Sky Media to be part of the core sell for everyone. 18,000 campaigns, billions of impressions, thousands of advertisers. But the most important stat is top right. 75% of the advertisers active on that platform are either new to TV or new to Sky. It's growing the TV market in the UK. It's making TV more relevant to more brands. And of those, more than 2/3 come back and book second, third, fourth, fifth campaigns. And what it really means is it's building your pipeline for the future, the pipeline for your national campaigns, building out the capability to really sort of motor your core linear offering. I talked about this in terms of platform reach. We're already live, as I say earlier, and there are a couple of guys in the room from Virgin today, 40% of UK households. You absolutely have to aim to have consistency across every single platform you operate on. So with the Virgin technology, they have different middleware, TiVo, Cadent, as well as their set-top boxes, all very different to the Sky environment. But the one thing that we had to do was make it for the advertiser easy to plan and transact against. It doesn't really matter about the guts of the system. It's how do you use that data and how do you make it consistent across all of the platforms. And that's why we are planning to sort of extend that capability out across all the other pay TV platforms too. Sky Analytics is, if you think about Google Analytics, Facebook Analytics. It's about making it easy to plan, transact, interact, track rather, and then replan your campaigns. Understanding how you can look at the profitability of TV across all of those platforms. Advances about cross-screen, and this is a really important thing. You know, there's more and more talk about identity in Europe. How do you enable first-party data in a GDPR-compliant way without cookies? How do you take into account device IDs? How do you understand the protecting the advertiser data and the agency data if you're going to empower it within your network? You need to have a device graph. Their own data sets in there, but absolutely protected, so that you can activate that data across your own estate, your own platforms, and off platforms. But all of that, quite frankly, is nonsense. You know why it's nonsense? Because it's all about me, it's all about Sky. And that is not the most important thing. As media owners, media publishers, media salespeople, you need to put yourself in the minds and in the businesses of the advertiser. Because actually, they're not advertising for the good of us. They're not advertising for the good of the consumer. They're advertising for the good of themselves. They have separate business objectives. Each and every single campaign will have a different role to play. And so you need to think, and we need to think about how our different types of inventories and capabilities can be utilized to create an optimal campaign outcome. Now, addressable, in most of the things that I've talked about before, have been about growing the TV market. But in many instances, the largest growing sector for addressable is not about really tight targeting in terms of affluence or location. It's about a national advertiser wanting to maximize their reach. So they're using addressable to target the lightest TV viewers. Because we all intrinsically know in this room that if you get to a certain percentage of reach or coverage, depending on the audience, it becomes no longer viable. So find a way to reach those people more cost effectively. It can be more expensive, but as long as it's more cost effective or cost per cover point than if you were doing it nationally by buying 400 or 500 ratings, then you're definitely delivering an optimal outcome for your advertiser. It might be about how you activate based on thermal activation or those sorts of things, but using TV in smart ways that make meaningful differences for every single campaign. I talked about the marketing funnel. You can map all of those use cases into sort of whether they fit top of the funnel or bottom of the funnel, whether they're about brand fame or whether they're about activation. We need to change the language that you operate in away from us and about the advertiser. What are they trying to achieve, not what am I trying to achieve? Because whilst they might like to contribute to my bonus, I don't think they particularly care. They want to contribute to their own. And so it could be all of the different products involved in a campaign, but each of them will be dialed up and dialed down based on the relevance of that particular campaign. Some may have no addressable at all. Some may be all about analytics. But you need to understand how you bring them together to be the optimal selection that is optimized against objectives for outcomes. So when I think about the future, I think about flexibility. I think about flexibility in roadmap and flexibility in approach. I think about brand campaigns and I think about performance campaigns. Let's not leave all the money on the table to Google. Let's take our share. I think about national and I think local. I'm starting to think global as part of NBCU, but that's how marketeers think. But ultimately what I'm really thinking about is how can we drive as a TV industry profitability and effectiveness for an advertiser. That is how you're going to drive the future of TV. Not reflecting on what's gone wrong, and what's been done to you, but what you can do for yourselves. Thank you.